What is going on, everybody? Welcome into Ravens Rundown by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Joey Peterson, and the Ravens finally did it. Even though it's 8:40 Eastern Time, the roster has finally been announced. Last in the NFL, but you know what? Here on Ravens Rundown, we do a video no matter what time it is, no matter where we are, whether it's in studio or at home. So let's talk about the 53-man roster. We'll start, obviously, with the quarterback position. Lamar Jackson, Josh Johnson, no surprises there. I will note, and I swear, guys, this will be the last time we talk about Devin Leary. We have talked about him enough over the past couple weeks. Devin Leary did not make the 53-man roster. This shouldn't be a surprise. I had a lot of people who thought when Emory Jones was cut earlier today that maybe meant that they're keeping Devin Leary. No, Devin Leary is not on this 53-man roster, and I think that's a very good thing, and I know you agree with me as well. Running backs, Derrick Henry, Rasheen Ali, Pat Ricard, and Justice Hill. Now, we'll get into injury news in a little bit. Keaton Mitchell did get placed on the PUP list, but Rasheen Ali made the roster. Don't know if this would have happened if Owen Wright suffered that injury, if he hadn't suffered that injury. This is just one of those things that we don't know what would have happened. I kind of like to think that Owen Wright might have made this roster, but he got hurt, unfortunately, and Rasheen Ali, 5th-round pick out of Marshall, is the running back that the Ravens are going with to fill in that RB3 role for now. Wide receivers, keeping 6 of them on the roster. And this will make fans and myself a little bit sad. We'll start with the obvious ones. Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, Nelson Aguilar, Tylan Wallace, Devontae Walker, and that last wide receiver spot goes to Deontay Hardy. Guys, I know that I wanted Dayton Wade. I know a lot of you guys wanted Dayton Wade as well. He just showed so much in the preseason in pretty much every single game, except a little bit that last game against the Packers. But man, he was phenomenal against the Eagles. He was phenomenal against the Falcons. But I think where Deontay Hardy separates himself is his return ability. I don't think that John Harbaugh or Eric DeCosta really thought it was a competition. I think they were surprised with Dayton Wade, but I think at the end of the day, they knew Deontay Hardy was going to make this roster, and he did. For the tight end room, the 3 usual suspects that we all knew were going to be on this roster: Isaiah Likely, Charlie Collier, and Mark Andrews. Now, on to the offensive line. Looks like the Ravens are keeping 5 offensive linemen: Nick Samak, Tyler Linderbaum, Patrick McCarry, Ben Cleveland, Roger Rosengarten, Male Asala Amave La'alu, Andrew Voorhees, Josh Jones, Daniel Fa'alele, and Ronnie Stanley. Now, we knew Salah had a really good chance of making the roster by the end of yesterday. We knew Tashawn Manning got cut. We figured it was between Samak, Salah, and Manning. Manning got cut, so you kind of knew Samak and Salah were going to be on this roster. Now, they won't be starting. They shouldn't be starting. The starting 5 will be, actually, John Harbaugh hasn't officially announced that. Presumably, the starting 5 will be Ronnie Stanley, Andrew Voorhees, Tyler Linderbaum, Daniel Fa'alele, and of course, right guard, I think will go to Roger Rosengarten. Now, over to the defensive side. Michael Pierce for the defensive line, Justin Metabike, Broderick Washington, Brent Urban, and Travis Jones. Nothing really big surprise there. Travis Jones, number 98, a big surprise guy, I think, this year. Definitely a player you need to keep your eye on. Definitely a player I'm going to keep my eye on because John Harbaugh has been keeping his eye on him for the entire offseason. To the linebackers we go. Roquan Smith, Trenton Simpson, Malik Harrison, Chris Board, Adisa Isaac, Kyle Van Noy, David Ajabo, Tavius Robinson, and Odafe Owe. This is a really important group because obviously edge rushers are combined in with the linebackers for these depth charts. This is the group that a lot of people will be circling, right? Can they do it? Can they back up a 60-sack season with another one maybe close to it? I don't know. I think Odafe Owe is a guy you can expect a lot from. I think David Ajabo is a guy you can expect a lot from. Adisa Isaac did make this roster. He has been dealing with some injuries as of late, but it's cool to notice and to note that he is not on any kind of PUP list or anything like that as of right now. On to the defensive backs, and this one really fires me up, and I think you guys know why. Nate Wiggins, Jalen Armour-Davis, our man Bo Braid, Kyle Hamilton, Brandon Stevens, TJ Tampa Jr., Sanusi Kane, Darius Washington, Marcus Williams, Eddie Jackson, and Marlon Humphrey. Let's talk about Beau Braid for just a second. Guys, we've had our eye on him since that very first preseason game against the Eagles. He's been an absolute dog, like that meme, dog, for the entire offseason. The way he tackles, the way he shoots gaps as a safety is unlike anything you see in the modern NFL. He's undrafted, went to college in Maryland, so happy that he's staying home, so happy he's a Baltimore Raven. And yes, I'm sad Dayton Wade didn't make it, but I would have been pissed if Beau Braid didn't make it. But he did. He's here, no reason to worry. Now let's round it out with the specialists, Justin Tucker, Jordan Stout, and Nick Moore. Two Ravens made the injured list. Arthur Maulet, he's designated to return. And then Keaton Mitchell made the PUP list. Maulet should return around probably after about a month. Keaton Mitchell might not be until October or November. So let's talk about the cuts, because obviously those are 53 that made it. Okay, who are the 27 that didn't? Corey Bullock, Chris Collier, Cooper Jr. Bump, Malik Cunningham, Bump Cooper Jr., Malik Cunningham. It was a guy that went from quarterback to wide receiver, flashed a little bit in the preseason, but we all knew at the end of the day he was a long shot to make this roster. Darrell Dalcourt, Joe Evans, Qadir Ismail, that came out earlier today. Emory Jones as well. Devin Leary, he's gone. Last time I'll be saying his name. Tashawn Manning, Julian Pearl, CJ Ravenell. I mean, I get why he didn't make this roster. Would have loved to have a guy with the last name Ravenell on the Ravens. Yvandy, Rigby, Josh Ross, Dayton Wade, Damarion Williams. Those are all the players that were waived. Now, terminated contracts are Qadir Holman, John Kelly, Keith Kirkwood, Anthony Miller, Deidrin Sanat, Josh Tupuo, and Darrell Worley. And the following players have been placed on injured reserve. That's Deion Jennings, Christian Matthew, Arthur Maulet, Trayvon Mullen, Isaiah Washington, and Owen Wright. Arthur Maulet is the only one on that list that is set to return. So let's talk about a little bit more about those injuries. Jeff Zrebiec tweeted, Ravens on season-ending IR. Owen Wright, Isaiah Washington, Deion Jennings, Christian Matthew, Trayvon Mullen, and then Ravens on IR with designation to return. Of course, that's Arthur Maulet. And we know the PUP list is Keaton Mitchell. I know, guys, that was a lot to take in, a lot of information, and we'll have a little more analysis and things on it tomorrow, and we'll look more into like the waiver wires and waiver claims and things of that nature. But just initial thoughts going into it. This is a really good roster. This is a Super Bowl contending roster, right? When you look at all the ones that you have all across your offense and all across your defense, that's as good as you're going to find in the NFL. Do we wish that the offensive line might be a little deeper? Of course. Do we wish they maybe weren't playing three guys who haven't started many downs in the NFL in their career? Yes, of course. There's going to be some growing pains with that. But the players that the Ravens have in place at the current moment on this 53-man roster are good football players. And I think that's what matters, right? We can complain all that we want as Ravens fans. Okay, this isn't deep enough. This is blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, you got one of the best rosters in football. And that's a promise, and that's a guarantee. Stay tuned. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'll be coming at you tomorrow with waiver claims, more roster updates. Again, this is just the initial 53-man roster. There will be things that change from here until the end of the day tomorrow. So stick by the channel. This isn't usually how our videos look. I can promise you that. If you want to see how they usually look, go back and watch a couple. Thank you guys so much for joining me on today's at-home edition of Ravens Rundown. I'm your host, Joey Peterson, and you guys have a fantastic night.